Coming up on The Returned.
Hungry for the truth. There is a huge shift, a huge change in the earth and people. So many people's lights are turning on. There is a much bigger mission at play. We're coming from a place of compassion and humility and being humble. We're
That's right.
afraid, disconnected, didn't remember any of these things. And now we are leading people to the truth. We are divine. We are human beings, but we are divine beings in a human body. There is a huge rising. It's time.
Hi, and welcome to The Returned. Here's to everything we'll discover together. Hi, and welcome to The Returned, a place where we share near-death stories and out-of-body experiences, spiritual awakenings, signs from spirit, and the journeys of healers and lightworkers from around the world. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like, subscribe, and share to make sure that you don't miss out on an episode. Today, I am honored to share this space with a truly radiant soul, Kiana. She is an author, intuitive guide, and a spiritual mirror, whose journey has been shaped by profound transformation, shadow work, and a return to her sacred self. Through her writing, channeled guidance, and sacred mentorship, Kiana holds space for others to reclaim their peace, power, and wholeness. Thank you, Kiana, and welcome to The Returned.
Wow, what a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. Oh, thank you so much
Oh,
for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I've been
you're so
just
welcome.
so ready and so excited to be talking with you guys, and I'm just really honored to be a part of your podcast and your show.
I'm
And
really happy that
yeah,
you're part of my journey. I'm so happy
yeah,
that you're here. I've been waiting for this.
me too.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
It is. And I love all of the themes that you talk about here. Like there's so many different avenues and topics and aspects, and it's like you have like the whole bag of everything, and it's just I love that. I think there's so many important aspects that humanity needs to talk about, and I love that you've created this safe space with so many different people from all kinds of backgrounds
Yeah.
to just be able to come in and share what they know and what they've learned. And I'm just excited to be here to share what I've learned and what I know, and this is going to be amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly why we started the or why I started the Returned. It meant more than just, near death. It meant back to self. It means so many things, the Returned. So, and I
Yes.
did that so that we could be kind of like a spiritual hub.
Mm-hmm.
That you could kind of get a lot of information, and yeah, pretty soon maybe we'll have little free trainings on here or something. I'm looking forward to growing the channel and growing with people, and I don't know everything, so it's like I'm learning as I go along, and it feels really good to do so.
Yeah, I love that.
So thank
Yeah,
you.
go ahead. Yeah.
Kiana, before we
Mm-hmm.
dive into your work and the wisdom that you share, can you
Mm-hmm.
take us back to the beginning of your journey? Did you have a specific spiritual awakening or pivotal moment that set you on your path to
Oh my
transformation?
goodness. That's a great question. I've had many. I have to think about like which one specifically. Um, my goodness. Yeah, for me, I guess I'll
Nope.
just start by saying that this has been a really long journey.
Oh,
I really started slowly spiritually like going through different lessons. I didn't even know it was a spiritual awakening, to be really honest, at first. I think it started when actually I met my husband when I was
oh,
14 years old. And that set us on quite a path of just like learning and healing. He's been a huge anchor for me as I was going through a lot of different things, like with my family and my parents. But I would say that really, like when the spiritual awakening started coming on and I started really realizing that's what it was about 2020. That's when I started really started questioning a lot of things. I really started questioning just with like COVID and the whole shutdown and the way that everything was happening in the world, I started really starting to ask and started realizing that the way that things were didn't necessarily need to stay that way. And I started
Ah,
seeing a new way that the world was operating. And I started seeing, just a lot of change and the world changing. And it made me really start questioning a lot of my beliefs. And this really gave me the opportunity too to spend a lot of time with my family. I was already a stay-at-home mom at that time, but it was different because at that time still you could go out, you could do things, you could see people, and then suddenly I was very much at home with my little one at the time. I think she was only like 1 or 2, and really I was just very immersed in being with her and healing. And so a lot of things started coming up.
oh,
I think I've mentioned this. Yeah, I've mentioned it definitely in my book, The Missing Piece Is You, where my children have been a pivotal part of my journey. They have been like the muse for my spiritual awakening. But it definitely started, like the questioning started happening in 2020. And then I would say like the big journey where everything just went like, boo, like really, really quick was about 2 to 3 years ago. This is after I had my second child. And I was a very ambitious, like I've always been a very ambitious person. I would set these like big goals and um, just really big ideas for how I wanted my life to go. And so when I was younger, when I was about 18 years old, I had written this huge manifestation list of 30 things I wanted to achieve before the age of, or by the age of 30. And among those were, a lot of the common things, get married, have a family, a good paying career. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see a lot of things, but own a home. A lot of the typical things that society tells you when you check off all of these things in the box and you have all of this around you, you're going to be really fulfilled. You're going to be really happy. But I
uh-huh.
had an uh-oh moment when I suddenly had achieved all of these by the age of 26. I was very ambitious. So I was like trying to get through all these because I felt this void and this unhappiness in me. And so I think that was a big reason for why I kept striving so much to check all of these things off, believing in my mind that once I achieved and accumulated everything that I would finally figure out what was missing internally. Um, and when I started realizing that I had achieved all of these things on my list and I still had this like emptiness that was following me everywhere, that really started getting me to like go deep, deep into my spirituality. I started trying to figure out what is missing. I even went through a period of time where I felt like I was broken. I felt like something was wrong
Oh,
with me. I felt like maybe I was being really selfish because I had everything on paper that should make me happy, but still like something was not right internally. And um I really just started going on this like soul searching journey of okay, like I have all these physical things, why do I still feel empty? And why do I still feel like just this restlessness in my soul? And I felt like that had been following me since like about the age of 14, 15. So as I was saying, like this journey's been happening for a long time, but back then I didn't have a name for it. I didn't really know what it was called. I just felt this like restlessness. I always knew I was here for a great purpose. I knew I was here to do something really big, really important, but I never could figure out what it was. It always felt like it was like on the tip of my tongue. Really couldn't see myself for a really, really long time. Couldn't see like why I was here or what my strengths were. A lot of my upbringing just really kind of I allowed it to tear me down, and I had kind of become like a shell of myself. But what also really spurred this awakening for me was my children. I remember specifically there was a day where I was sitting and I was having a coffee and I was so in my head. It was like the perfect moment where my kids were happy, they were playing, and like I should have been present, but I was so in my head and I was miserable and I was depressed and I was looking out the window wondering, when am I going to be happy? When will I ever feel happy? Thinking of some future reality, not being present at all. And then I had this massive epiphany that came through that I realized what was missing from my life is myself. I had completely clocked out and like was dissociating and getting stuck in what all of us adults get stuck in, the eternal the two eternities of like the past and the future. And very difficult, I was finding it like it was very difficult for me to be able to just be present in the moment and to be able to find gratitude for what I had in front of me.
right.
And so that was when I really realized something here is not right. Like I'm not even present in my own life. I'm blind to all of the beauty that is around me because I feel like something is missing. And what was missing, as I was saying, was more of myself, more of my presence, more of who I truly am. Again, at that point, I had so much pain that was inside of me that I felt like it was so hard for me to be present. It was much easier for me to be living up here as a spiritual person than it was to be living here. So a lot of the time I would be like living in two places at once. But because I was living in these two places, I was never directly in front of me. And so there was a very big disconnect. Yeah, no, go
Was
ahead.
the other place? Like where, when you say you were living in two places, where was that? Where was this? Like, where is the second place for you?
Well, I guess like well, the first place technically is here, it in like the body, right?
Yeah.
But the place that I was mostly in was like I think it was just really in my head and just very
Okay.
dissociated, to be honest. Like
Okay.
in another, almost like in another realm. I know that sounds really strange, but I feel like I was existing in another realm for self-protection because being human felt really hard. I think for me it's just I'm a very sensitive person and a sensitive soul, and so along with like emotional regulation and like all of these other things that I had not been taught, and I suddenly had these little children who also didn't know how to do that, like that became so hard for me to be able to be present with tantrums and all these things when I hadn't even learned like how to manage my own emotions. So it would be a lot easier for me to kind of just whoop, fly out of my body. Even though my body was here on the ground, my mind would be off somewhere else in my own kind of little world. Or if it wasn't in like so much in like kind of another realm of just, I don't know where that exactly was, it would also just be kind of like just these thoughts of a future reality, a lot of daydreaming. I would imagine or envision myself in another scenario where things would feel easier, where I feel more content, thinking again that like I had to change my external circumstances to find contentedness, to find peace. But what I didn't realize is I was searching for inner peace. And the only way to do that was to shift my internal world and to work on my internal world, not my external. And so for
That's
years, like I was chasing a lot of external things, whether that was like more friendships or like love or um, accomplishments or career or like wanting to move houses, constantly looking for something outside of myself because I just hadn't learned how to be comfortable, I think, or accept myself and embrace myself as I was. And that goes really deep into just self acceptance. I think the upbringing that I had made it really difficult. I came from a household where my father was very emotionally absent, and my mother was raised by a single parent, and so she didn't really know how to
mm,
work as a unit, as a team.
right.
So he was very emotionally absent, and then she just didn't really know how to show up in the ways that I was needing her to. And because of that, it just didn't feel like an environment that was very good for my growth or for me, considering that I was so emotional growing up. And so I had some really hard experiences with my father, actually, that just really made me have a lot of shame when it came to feelings and emotions. And it's interesting because the whole thing that I love to do is to share and to speak. But back then, I really felt like I had no voice. I felt like I didn't know how to speak. I had completely disconnected from my feelings, my emotions. Really, I had become like a shell of myself, and I was full of anger and like resentment for a really long time because I felt like nobody could understand what was going on. I couldn't even understand what was going on, and there was just a lot of um just a mismatch, I think, in communication. Like it was almost like speaking multiple languages, even though we were all speaking English. Like nobody could understand each other, and so eventually, I just kind of learned to just not say anything because that was easier.
Mhm.
It would avoid pain. I would avoid being laughed at. I would avoid crying. Like even tears of joy for a long time, I would feel ashamed. Any type of emotion, I
Oh,
felt very
wow.
burdensome. Yeah, towards people.
Mm.
So
That
it was
had to be really
very
rough.
it was very rough. I kind of grew up in
Mhm.
the environment just feeling that like who I was at the core, because my core essence is somebody who is very sensitive and emotional, was rejected. And it was really painful for me. And so,
Mm.
because that part of me felt so rejected, like I rejected myself and I disconnected from that part of myself. And because I am such an emotional person, that's also why I would like kind of dissociate a lot because it would feel too hard being here when I felt like I had been told that I was too much or that I was not enough or that my
Wow.
feelings were, burdensome and I've realized too, like with time that that was never really the case. It was not the intention. It's just my father had a lot of wounds and he didn't know how to be warm emotionally. Like the only emotion that I would often see from him would be anger because of course that's one of the easier ones to express. Um,
Hmm.
but for him, a lot of the time it was like love that was mixed with fear and then it would come out in the form of anger. And so, yeah, it was very challenging, and I would say that a big part of that is what led to my spiritual awakening is because when I started noticing that my children would have tantrums, I would shut them down. I was essentially doing what he was doing to me. And I started noticing that that was really unhealthy, especially in my oldest, because she started just like suppressing a lot of her feelings. And I realized like I'm not going to continue that. I don't want her feeling like how I did. And so that took me on like a
Yeah.
massive journey of like inner work and inner healing and spirituality. And as soon as I opened up to that, it suddenly was just like, I feel like God went and took my hand and just went running and hasn't stopped until like now. Like now I'm finally like at the other side of the mountain, but it was a lot. It was a very intense journey where I went through a lot at a very rapid pace. It was very exhausting, soul tiring, but I'm so grateful because now I see things, I understand things from a very different perspective. And I have so much gratitude because if I hadn't gone through all of those lessons, I wouldn't be who I am today.
When I'm just going to back up for a second there, where was spirituality in your life at that time? Did you have a religion? Were you religious or spiritual, or did you have that in the home?
Well, it's an interesting journey, I guess. Religion was a little bit in my home growing up, but I didn't per se have an actual relationship with the divine. I kind of had just known of it.
Yeah.
And then when it came to like spirituality, there was a lot of confusion there. There was a lot of fear. A lot of the women in my family are actually very connected and very tapped in. We're all very gifted on both sides. But there was a lot of fear there. It was like something you shouldn't do because something bad can happen. And so it took me a long time to feel comfortable sharing that I'm spiritual with my family because I was quite afraid of judgment, thinking that they were going to think that I was bad or whatever, all that kind of stuff. So it took me time to get out of the spiritual closet. Um, but in terms of like where my spirituality was, I feel like if I'm being really honest, I feel like I've actually always had a connection to the divine ever since I was a really little girl. But I don't think, again, I fully understood that that's what it was until I was a lot older.
Hmm.
Like, I've even had a near-death experience when I was really young, and I'm
Oh, wow.
positive that not to the point where, like, I died and was able to come back, but to the point where I was 100% sure I was going to die. Um, yeah, I was about 7 years old, and this is probably when the time when I started knowing that something is protecting me. I didn't know what it was, but I knew something was. I had gone swimming, like, with a cousin of mine, and she thought she knew how to swim, but apparently she turns out she doesn't. And we went and we ran and we were holding hands, jumped into the deep end, and she ended up on my shoulders and I was drowning. And to the point where I was gulping in water and she had completely like was also choking me at the same time because she was scared. So I thought for sure that that was the end. And all of a sudden, I had hands reach in and pull us out. And my mom ended up telling me that she had been like just laying on the lounge chair and then suddenly had this very strong feeling like something was wrong and go check. And she looked and thought we were just playing like, one of those kid games, like who can hold your breath
Yep.
the longest. But she said she had this like really bad feeling come over her. And so she pulled us out. But I knew right then and there, I'm like, I have divine help on my team that is protecting me. So I knew, but I wasn't sure what it was. But I've always
Hmm.
known that there's something that has been always looking out for me. And
Isn't
then
it
for
strange how you look back at that and you can see
mhm.
it's almost like spirit leaves you breadcrumbs.
Yes, for
to
sure.
kind of see, like, to look back and
That
go,
you're not
"Oh, well,
alone.
no, I'm never
Yeah.
have been alone," or
Yeah.
"Interesting, this happened, I didn't realize it at the time."
Mhm. And
I
I had,
find
like,
that interesting.
experiences as well, like, when I was younger, like, sometimes I would see things that would kind of scare me. So I've
Mhm.
always had, like, a connection, but I don't think was very open to it when I was younger because, again, there was so much fear. When any type of talk of spirituality, it was very like, "No, that's something you don't do, you don't entertain." You shut that down, something bad can be attached to you. So that was kind of like my experience with it. But as I got older, I think probably around 2020 is when I really started just trying to piece myself together because, again, I felt really lost. I suddenly had two kids. I went through these big bouts of like postpartum depression, anxiety, like really losing myself. I was super young. I was only 21 when I had my first baby, which sent me through like a huge identity crisis. So really, I was really trying to figure out like who the heck am I now that I've at that time had lost all my friends. Like it was just a very isolating, like 8-year journey of no friends. Like it was really hard. And so I really started turning to like tarot and tarot cards and spirituality, trying to like piece myself together and
Of
figure out
course.
like who I am
Mhm.
and why I'm here. And that was the beginning of my spiritual journey, I would say. And from there it just started to evolve. I got curious. I'm like, oh, if I can, watch these videos. I started with watching them online on YouTube. Then I started wondering, can I do this for myself? That would be handy, that would be convenient, and so I ended up getting a deck, and then I started practicing, and from there, it just continued on, but, yeah, I would say, like, I've always definitely had spirit, God with me, angels, guides with me, but I just didn't know that's what it was until I became an adult and until I started opening up a lot more and started trusting
Mhm.
myself with my gifts and stopped having so much fear that had been installed from religion or from family. And then from there, it completely, like, fully opened, but it took time. Also, like, self-acceptance and not worrying so much about how people perceived me. When I was able to do that, then all of that kind of just broke down, fell apart, and then I was able to really connect deeply.
So you said that losing your friends and all of that, you had 8 years, no friends.
Mhm.
Now, my question would be around that, do you think that that had to happen?
100%.
Or was it planned to happen?
Absolutely. Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely. That's a great question, for sure. I
Mhm.
feel like up to that point, I had really based a lot of who I was on the people around me because I was still, I was young. And so I didn't know who I was. I was trying to fit in and mold into what I thought people wanted me to be. I was like the good girl. I was the golden child when I was younger, trying to please everybody, but the people pleaser as a kid.
Mm.
So for me, like I really didn't know who I was. And I think it was absolutely necessary for me to not have those friendships for two reasons. One, they were not actually the authentic friendships that I needed going into the next part of my journey. But
Mhm.
two, I needed to learn my own voice and I needed to learn the voice of the divine. If I hadn't had all of that time alone, then that never would have happened. Like I wouldn't have known who I was. I still would have been basing my identity off of other people. I wouldn't have had so much time to go within myself and heal. It was hard, I hated it, I felt really lonely, but I see now how, like, necessary that was. Even though it was really painful, it really gave me the opportunity to, like, really get familiar with, "Okay, who am I?" And my voice, like, "Why am I here?" To start asking questions, as well as to learn my strength because I feel like I
Mhm.
went through some really hard periods of time, like, I went through depression alone. Like, I was never really alone, like, my husband was there and stuff,
Yeah.
which so grateful for. But, like, it was really hard. I felt like I had to crawl out of some of, like, the deepest, darkest pits on my elbows by myself,
Yeah.
and that was really challenging, but it
Mhm.
definitely showed me just, like, how resilient I am, and it also showed me a big part of why I was alone for so long was, again, because I hadn't accepted who I was. I was still hiding
Mhm.
a huge part of myself, which was the spiritual part, because, again, that was always there, I just hadn't fully reconnected with it until I got
Right.
older, um and then when I finally did and I stopped hiding and I became authentic and I learned who I was and I learned my voice and I started connecting with the divine, then I could start being this light, this beacon that other people could then see.
That's
But I
right.
was hiding myself for a really long
Mm.
time, not knowing who I was. I was this shell of myself because I still had so much darkness and pain and trauma that I hadn't started to like actually heal, that I couldn't connect with people in the way I wanted to because I couldn't even connect with myself. So had I not had that
Yeah.
time, I never would have connected with myself in the way
Yeah,
that I meant to.
that is
Yeah.
such a good point because also I don't know if it would have been beneficial for you to connect with others at that time either. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
would you have been giving 100% of yourself into anything if
I
you were
think
still working on you?
that's a really good question. I think I would
Or
have,
a
but I
thought, a good
also
thought.
or a good thought, but I also
Mhm.
think that I, to be really honest, would have been just really desperate to have a friend and
Oh,
to have somebody be
oh
in my
yeah.
life, and it wouldn't have been as nourishing as it should have been for me
Mm,
or for that other person.
that's a good
And
point.
yeah, like I feel like I don't know. I just it just wasn't the right time. Like later on, I
Yeah.
did start having friends that did start trickling in. And it's not to say that you can't have friends when you're
Yeah.
in a cloud of darkness. You absolutely can. I have had some absolute angels in my life who have been that light for me, and they really helped me see myself. But it was at the time when I was ready for that to happen. And now I've been able
Mhm.
to do that back for them. And so I think too, it also like for me, because I'm a very unique person. I have a very unique frequency. I think that I've learned with myself that like I can be friendly and friends with everybody really, but like the depth that I exist in a lot is very deep, and so it's hard to find people who can
Mm,
match that. It's very hard. And yeah, and I'm a very genuine person. I'm not a fluff and
mhm.
surface. Obviously,
Mm,
anybody who's like watched my messages, they know I'm
yeah.
very deep. And so I think for some people, like if they're not somebody who's willing to do inner work or somebody who's worked on like healing themselves or somebody who likes to swim in those depths, it can be hard for us to stay friends, and that's
Absolutely.
okay. Like but I've just
Yeah,
learned that
it's
about myself.
absolutely okay. And you're
Yeah.
so right. I have
Yeah.
actually been going through that, excuse me, myself.
Mhm.
I know exactly what you mean when you say that because I've done a
Yeah.
lot of inner work.
Mhm.
Didn't have a great upbringing either, so I can actually empathize with not everything, but kind of where you are with that. Um, and it's really hard. It's really hard for me personally to have just these like shallow conversations.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to sound like too
Hmm.
I don't want to sound like a, a bee, but
Yeah.
uh, I don't want to talk about
The
what
weather.
happened on the weekend or what's going on
Yeah.
at the pub. Or I just really am not interested, to be
Me either.
honest. I mean, and of course I'm
Yeah.
going to listen,
Mhm.
but for a bit, but then
It's
it's
like
like
it's like, tell
it
me how
gets
you
old for
really
me.
are, you know? It's like I
Yes,
don't want just the
that's
surface
right.
level
The
crap.
surface
It's like
stuff.
I wanna know, how are you really? Like, what are you going like, a
Yeah,
real genuine human connection. Like, I feel like
that's
people are
right.
too surface a lot of the time, and
Yes.
it's like I can do it. I can do the surface, but I'm here for genuine, real connections,
I
soulful connections.
yes,
Yeah.
I completely understand that. Now, Kiana, could you tell us how it happened for you? When did you start when all your channeling, when you start hearing the voice,
Mhm.
how did that all start for you?
Um, Again, it's interesting because a lot of the time when my journeys begin, I don't necessarily realize it's even happening until later when I look back and then
Mhm,
I start seeing like you had mentioned, like the breadcrumbs. But for me, I didn't realize I was channeling initially, but it started when I would just speak sometimes. Like I'd have conversations to people and I would just say something. And I noticed I started getting these like one of the first gifts that started coming on was like a clear sense of feeling. I think that's like Claire
mhm,
sentience maybe, I think is what it is.
mhm.
and I started getting shivers like down my arms
Me
when I would
too.
speak. And I knew for sure when that was happening, I'm like, that is the divine speaking through me. And when it would happen, people's eyes often would water. They would start crying. They would suddenly tell me their whole life stories, like all these kinds of things. And they would often be like, how do you know that? Like just very deep things like that. And so for me, that was the beginning of my channeling gift. I just started speaking, but not even really realizing that's what it was. But then when that
Mhm.
gift came on of like the feeling of the shivers, then I started recognizing like this is not only me. This is the divine. Like I'm being used as a channel, as a vessel. So that's how that initially started. And then after that, I think the way that it like really opened up is I started reading like tarot cards a lot more. I started getting really comfortable with reading them and with understanding them. And I started noticing that as I was doing that, again, it's another form of channeling. Sometimes you're reading the cards, but you're also getting insights and downloads, and at least that's how I would read them. Like I'd see it as a story. And so I started practicing that gift, that intuition more and more and more. And then eventually I started moving into getting really obsessed with it and wanting to read for everybody, as many people as I could, because I loved it. It was so fun. And I was able to help people see themselves because that's the tool I used to see myself. So it felt like something that I could really help people with. And so I started doing that. And then I started noticing that, I was getting more of these shivers when I would speak. It started getting easier to understand and read and interpret the cards. And then eventually, I think I had started seeing other people like on YouTube actually that were doing channeling. And I remember just thinking like, wow, I wish I could do that. I would love to be able to do that. And what's really interesting I've learned is that often when you speak with other people that have gifts, it's almost like they can awaken them in you. It's really interesting. This has
Mm.
happened multiple times for me. Like when I'm speaking with somebody and they share like a gift that they have, all of a sudden I start to be able to unlock it in myself. And I think it's because in our minds, we often think we're not capable. But when we see somebody else doing it, if they can do it, why can't I? Kind of
Mhm.
thought or mentality. And so I
Mhm.
started realizing like I'm already doing this with like the downloads that come in when I would speak to people. And I'm already doing this when I'm reading tarot cards. And so I started just like meditating a lot around this time too and started really hearing like full on downloads. So before I started channeling for people, I started definitely doing it for myself first. I went through, yeah, it's important to mention, I went through a season for like at least 6 months, if not maybe like longer, maybe 9 months, where I would sit and meditate for like 2 hours. And I don't know how I did it because I was a homeschool, stay at home mom with kids. And so at quiet time, I would be like doing that, like meditating, or I'd be meditating while they were like playing after we had done school and stuff, or like with the show on. And I would be here. But again, this is like, that was the gift, I guess, because I could be here, but I could so I was always
That's
doing
really
it like,
cool.
yeah, I was always doing it without realizing it. But this time I did it intentionally. And so I would sit with myself and then I started having communication with angels. And I know how that sounds, but that was like the first communication that started happening for me. And I started journaling and I started writing down. And the more that I started reading my own journals, it gave me confidence because I knew that I couldn't speak like that. Like some of the things that were coming through, I'm like, I don't even know some of these words or like how like would shock me the way that I would read my own writing back. I'm like, that's not me. Like that's the divine speaking through me. And so all of these little like breadcrumbs started coming together and I started realizing, hold on, this is a gift. And then I started feeling inspired to try. And so like way back when at the beginning of this year in March, I started doing it. So rather than just doing it like through meditation, what I would do is I would take like maybe 10, 15 minutes to sit and meditate and ask what is it that you want me to share today, like with the collective. And initially
Mm.
it was small. I'd get like one or two little words and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to take these one or two little words and I'm just going to open my mouth and whatever comes out, comes out. And I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just whatever comes out, comes out. And when I took the pressure off of myself and I started trusting in myself, then it got easier. And to be honest, too, like I still was really doubting myself in the beginning of that journey, but it actually really did help me to have that proof when people would comment and say, like, wow,
Mhm.
that really resonates. Then I started trusting in my gift more. And then eventually it got to the point where I don't really feel like I need to get validation anymore. I trust my gift so strongly that now it's easy. And it's interesting because I've realized like a lot of the things that I do say to me, they seem I don't know, like sometimes I have a hard time articulating it because the frequencies can be very high. But still, for me, I feel like I just all of the gifts that I use at the same time, it's made it easier for me to communicate. But often I'm told, like when I tell people certain things, even in just conversations like this, they're kind of flabbergasted a little bit, like just with what I say. And I've been told like it takes like a week sometimes for people to digest what I've said because it's been very profound. So this also is why it's been kind of hard to find friends because the level, like the frequencies, not the level, but like the frequencies that I speak at and the downloads that I get. And when I do speak, I see people in a way that some people are not used to. And so for some people, that can actually be quite intimidating. But for other people who like to heal and like to grow, they love that because then they're like, okay, thank you. Now I can see where, there was a gap here. You filled it. I can understand why something might have happened or why I might have been acting this way because of this trigger or this trauma. And the reason that I'm so good at it is because I can see myself in them. So it's never a place
Ah,
of judgment. It's like, I've been where you are. I know where you're standing. I know what you're feeling. I can see I can read a lot. I can read like energy and all of that kind of stuff. So with all of those different senses and different gifts, I'm able to then channel through guidance for people. So I would
that is
say,
so amazing.
yeah. So I think
It's
for me,
amazing.
it was like a long stream of like things, but I didn't realize it. Like I haven't even really thought about it till you asked me, but now that I look back, that is how it was like one little thing after another and then just building my confidence and my own inner security that yes, what I'm hearing is real. That's one of the hardest things with channeling is like you second guess yourself, you doubt, you're like, am I crazy, am I making this up, is this my ego, is this my mind, what is this? And so with time you start building more confidence and yeah, that was my journey. I think everybody's journey is
W-
different, but that was mine. Yeah.
What does it sound like when you hear?
um Well, it's a good question. Like when I'm hearing, it sounds like it's like through my voice, but sometimes the tone is a little bit different. Like the tone might be a bit more firm, the tone might be a bit lighter. It might be faster. The dialogue sometimes sounds fast. Like sometimes I get tongue twisters, like I'll twist over my words. Um, Other times, rarely do I ever feel like it's like a different voice, but it's not always only in hearing. Like I also see. So it's kind of hard to explain. Like sometimes I'll hear things, but then other times I'll see things and it's shown to me like in an analogy. And then I have to try to understand what spirit is trying to get me to say with that analogy. And I'll actually ask, like sometimes if I don't understand, if they're showing me a blue bird, I'm like, okay, Bluebird, what does that like what do I think that's associated with? Maybe it's like song, maybe that's something about somebody's voice. But other times if I don't know, then I'll ask, what are you telling me with this? Like I'll actually have I know that sounds a little crazy, but like I'll have like an actual conversation when I'm channeling like alone by myself to ask what are you trying to show me? Like if I don't understand something. But
Mhm.
generally I've gotten a lot faster and better at grasping it. And then I get like an aha, like, yes, that feels right, or I'll get the shivers. So
Yeah.
then I'm like, okay, that's correct. But yeah, I think it's important to note that like a lot of the time people will doubt if they have this ability because it does sound like your own voice. So we can think because you're hearing it through your own like voice that it's not real or that it's not true, but it's just the way that communication happens. At least for me, I think sometimes for some people, I have actually heard like a different voice, like a couple times. That first time that I had an angel speak through to me, that was a different voice. But
Mhm.
I feel like for me, it's like the way that I know is it's the tone. It's the tone or like what is said is different. And it's not my words. It's hard to explain. Like often when I'm channeling too, another thing to mention is I don't even know what I'm saying. Like I'll speak and then I have to listen back to the entire channeling, the whole video, because I
Oh,
have no
wow.
recollection of what was said. I just open my mouth and it just comes out. And I as I'm like working through what they're showing me or telling me, um, I'm sharing it, but often in that moment, because the frequencies are so high and my brain is working so quickly to try to
Mhm.
understand, I don't even really like grasp sometimes what I'm saying until I go back and I listen and I'm like, oh yeah, like, but other times I will be like, I don't even remember saying that, but that's good to know kind of thing. So, yeah.
I understand when you say that because over the past year, I've been hearing three distinct voices. One
Mm.
of them, I can't really tell if it's male or female. But what I can tell about it is that it's actually quite a stronger voice. It's okay, so what it sounds like is powerful. Now,
Mm-hmm.
the difference with the voices when I hear, normally it comes in on this right side.
Mine does
And it
too,
feels
a
like it's
lot.
like right here, a little bit at the back or something, like just a little further back. But this one voice that
Mm.
comes feels like it's over my head.
Interesting.
So it's so, and it comes in, Kiana,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like a vibration or a song. That's not even it. I can't put my finger on it how to explain it, but it's been coming in and it's been bold, not
Mm-hmm.
rude or anything, not evil or negative, just
Yeah.
really ever present, maybe
Yeah.
ever present. And it's very high above me. It's
Yeah.
not back here where I normally hear, it's above.
Mm-hmm.
And one time it came in and told me to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that could be
And
like
I'm
the
like,
voice of your higher self or the divine, but like what you're
right?
specifically saying, I know exactly what you're talking about. That
Okay.
that is you channeling
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
The
It
other
comes in
one,
like very different.
yeah, the other one actually
Mhm.
sounds a lot like mediumship. So you might be like actually,
Yes.
yeah, like hearing or seeing, however it is that you get it. Something from somebody. Like I noticed that too. Sometimes what would happen
Hmm.
is for me, like again, I didn't know that I even had these gifts. I used to think I had none, which is like mind blowing now. But when they started activating when I was really young, it would happen here and there randomly. It would sound almost like a walkie-talkie. It was like these conversations that I would be hearing, almost like little arguments here and there. And I wouldn't even notice it until like suddenly I'd pay attention and be like, oh, what is that? And then I would get annoyed because then it would get really, really loud. So sometimes that can be like a sign of mediumship too, like when you're hearing, almost
Hmm.
like tuning into like a radio when you're hearing like
Yeah.
someone
I
else's
know that for
conversation.
sure.
Yeah.
But that over
Hmm.
one, the one over is
Yeah.
much different.
It's
When I
very
was
different.
little, in around 8 years old, I used to, something would happen and my mouth would start to chatter. It
Like
was
light
odd.
language?
Pardon?
Like light
I don't know what
language?
it was. My mom couldn't understand what I was doing. I said, well, I
Mm,
don't either. So I was only 8. I
probably.
didn't know why it was happening.
Yeah.
That went away, I think, around only once in a while. It would happen at around 14. It
Hmm.
started to go kind of away, but it was like a really weird thing with my mouth. It was so odd. I can still remember it. Like it's just like haven't had that in a long time. Now it's just voices, but not as clear as what you're saying, and it only happens once in a while.
Mm.
But it's
Well, maybe
happened
not
more often this year.
maybe not as clear yet, right? The more that you
It
start
could
tuning
be.
in, yeah, the
Right.
more clear. Because again, like the same, like until I really realized this is a gift, and until I started trusting what I was hearing more, it took a while for me to actually have that clear channel. And I think for me too, one of the most important things, like I feel like in my journey, I wasn't actually granted access to being this clear channel
Mm,
until I had learned to ground very well. Because
mm,
again, if I was up here all the time, that can lead to like psychosis. So it's really
that's
important that you know
right.
how to ground so that you can discern and decipher between, what are you hearing and like all of that kind of stuff. So until I was able to like really get into my body was I able to actually fully channel. But until I could like accept myself and love my emotions and love my mind and like love all of these things and love being human, was that actually opened up to me because I think had it been opened up too early and I hadn't learned how to like actually love being here and I was still like, trying to dissociate and fly away all the time, that could have led to like a psychosis. And so
Absolutely.
yeah. And so I was
Absolutely.
guided. Like before I went through that, I remember there was a period of time where I was like, I know I'm being guided to learn how to ground. a lot in many different ways. Like constantly, I was learning how to ground with like the earth, the trees, like
Yeah.
bracelets, even. Like, I don't know if
Yeah.
you can see that in my
What do
camera,
you
but
have? What is that?
so I wear these two almost all the time. This one I think is called Rainforest Jasper,
Oh,
which is again really good for grounding. And it represents like the earth. I work with a lot of crystals as well. I just feel like for me, I can actually channel with them sometimes for people. Like when I do one-on-one soul sessions, I get messages for people. I get like told to pull certain ones. But I also use them for me. And this actually really helps me just to ground as well as when it does get too loud, occasionally here and there. Like when I hear that, like almost like the radio frequency, I'll put this on and quiet. So I know for sure that is what it is because
I
this is the
wear
only one that's ever
crystals.
done that.
I
Yeah.
wear crystals, and then I also have like these little things here,
Oh yeah, on your hands.
and then you put them on your hands, right?
Yeah.
And I do that with
Mhm.
meditation. I also have really big crystals hanging, but my husband is learning to build uh PEMF like these pyramids. And
Interesting.
yeah, and they go over your bed, and they're like, you can get big ones, you can get small ones,
Oh,
and
I
he's
feel like
building
I've
these
seen
little,
these. I feel
yeah,
like
and
I've
then he's
seen
making
yeah.
these little round, they've got they have crystals and copper and all sorts, but they're actually a frequency. They actually have frequencies that go in them with a
Mhm.
little kind of conductor. And
Mhm.
so he was putting the frequencies, but he's been building these little things. So it's very interesting what he'll be coming up with. I'll let you know, let you
Yeah,
see what they
cool.
look like when he's done. But it's really interesting what crystals can do. And I'm a firm believer. I've got crystals everywhere in my house,
Sounds
everywhere.
very Atlantean or Lemurian. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
very. I
Mm.
wanted to kind of touch base on, do you ever hear your channels or your channeling, does it ever take you to premonitions or like warnings or anything negative like that? Or maybe not negative is the word,
Yes.
maybe just like, what's the word? Not negative, but kind of things that are happening in the world. Do you ever hear
Well,
about things like that?
one thing I don't really hear about like I feel like what it is that I'm connected to is a very loving source. So anytime there
Hmm.
is something that is like a warning or negative per se, it's always turned into a positive.
Mm.
Um it I don't know, the way that it's delivered is always with love and intention,
Oh,
never
that's
ever
good.
fear, ever
Hmm.
fear. Like sometimes I'll feel fear or I'll wonder, I'm like, is this actually like true? But every time it's delivered, it brings peace. So I think it's really important to know that like when you are channeling, if something is bringing you fear, that might actually be your ego. It shouldn't be
Hmm.
bringing you fear. If you're channeling from like God, from the divine, it should always give you peace. Um, I do get like dreams sometimes where like I will get warnings of like a family member. And this happens
Wow.
sometimes like throughout like all the women in my family sometimes will get dreams of a family member maybe who's passed on who's coming back to like alert other people like, hey, keep your eye out on this or hey, check in on this person.
Wow.
But I don't really get anything like about the world per se, other than the fact that I have had I wouldn't say it's like premonitions, more so it's like, what would I even call that?
I know I used the wrong word myself. It's not that
It's
either.
hard
It's,
to
I know I'm thinking too in my head. I'm like,
yeah.
what is that word? But I know what you mean. That
I
wasn't
th
the right word I used.
That's okay. It's this kind of like talking is very high frequency, so sometimes there's not
Hmm.
even words. Like, we can struggle to speak human words, but I
I'm
think
more wondering if you're ever getting guidance, I think, on
guidance.
how how people can basically bring more, maybe walk with more heart center, walk their life more from their heart also, and then also not being able to like to tune out the negative things, like
Mhm.
does your channeling ever cover something like that?
I feel like it always does. I feel like everything that I am being guided to
I think
say
so too.
very
You're
much,
very,
yeah,
yeah.
um Sorry, how did you word that again? I'm trying to think of like how to respond.
I am actually trying to word it as I'm thinking too. So
Yeah.
basically, what I want to know, I'm going to just say it straight up. I'm going to say, do you ever get warnings about the way humanity is going?
I wouldn't say warnings, but what I have heard is that things can look and may look scary right now. But again, it's always directed to truth
Hmm.
that often I've been told that there needs to be um a destruction before there can be a rebuild. And so to
Right.
not fear that what you're seeing, a lot of it is an illusion. It can look really scary. It
Yeah.
can look like the world is ending. But again, when you think of like, okay, they're giving me the example right now, actually a channeling right now of like the tower card in the tarot. And so in the tower, in the middle
Okay.
of the tower, if the in the middle of the tower was like a brick that was decomposing, it's not safe for it to stay standing. It needs to be broken in order for that new foundation to be built. So essentially, sometimes they'll say that, yes, things might look scary, there's war, there's pain, but what it is its darkness needs to be purged in order for it to be seen into light. So all the time, again, like, yes, sometimes I'll get those premonitions, but they're always turned around to say that the truth of this is that it's being destructed so that things can change because we are moving from an old way of being, of control, of the lower mind, of the ego to a more harmonious way of living, which is a higher density. But in order for that transition to happen, the old ways of being need to die. They need to crumble. And so it might look really scary on the outside, but actually it's a very positive thing that's happening. There is
Yeah.
like a rebirth that's
Yeah.
happening. And sometimes, we can't create a new earth, a new essentially plane of existence on old foundations and old structures that are full of lies and darkness and
Right.
deception. It
Absolutely.
has to crumble, it has to go down in order for
Hmm.
there to be that new foundation, getting shivers everywhere right now, that is rebuilt. So to answer that question, technically, yes, I have had premonitions. This was something
I
I
don't
had
know
to
if the
work
premonition word,
through.
it's not the right word, is it?
Or like guidance. Like I've definitely had guidance for sure because I did go through a period of time where I actually did go into a little bit of a psychosis. Like I remember when I was
Mm.
really starting to spiritually awaken, I was being bombarded. And this is why it's so important to have discernment with the world is ending, everything is
Yeah.
horrible. Like pack your bags, get ready for the end of the world. And I fed into that. I believed it and I was scared and I was living in this feeling of like negativity and fear. And like I have to say, when you're living in that way, you're so much easier to control. This is what that not that there's a side, but this is what, darkness, let's say, wants is for you to be stuck in this
That's
lower
right.
vibration because then you can never get up here. And when you're up here, you can see clearly. When you're down here, you're so scared you can't move. You're like stuck in dirt and you can't go anywhere.
Right.
And
Right.
so then you can't awaken to the truth of who you are.
Hmm.
You're just so stuck in this lower density of fear and everything that you just you get like polarized. You can't move at all. And so I'm sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought there with
That's
what you
okay.
were
That's
asking.
okay because
Yeah.
that was awesome. That sounded great. And so I know that you have so many followers and you are so happy. Like when I see you doing your thing on
Mm,
TikTok, that's how I found you. It's
yeah.
such a pleasure. It really
Thank
is
you.
just to see you. Like it's just so natural and it's so real, it feels to me.
Yeah,
And I
it is.
really, really enjoy watching your TikToks.
Thank you.
Um, Now, having said that, knowing how many people you are touching
Mm.
every day, do
Hmm.
you think that humanity is waking up
A
spiritually?
100%. I don't
Good.
think I
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I know that humanity is waking up. People are hungry for the truth. There is a huge shift, a huge change in the earth and people. So many people's lights are turning on. Um, Honestly, like I believe that there is a much bigger mission at play. I don't believe I
Me
know
too.
there is a much bigger mission at play.
Mm-hmm.
I've been told there is, that there are
Mm-hmm.
many people involved. Some of us are leading the way who have woken up first. A lot of us who have gone through huge amounts of darkness to find the light
Yeah.
within us. Now we're
Yeah.
leading. And so,
Yeah.
and we're coming from a place of compassion and humility and being humble because we understand we were there. We were there who were
That's right.
afraid, disconnected, didn't remember any of these things. And so, we are very pure of heart, and now we are leading many, many people to the truth, which the truth, as I know it, is that we are divine. We are human beings, but we are divine beings in a human body. And when we're born here, we forget that. We become disconnected. And so we live in this illusion essentially of darkness because, we start living forgetting who we are and forgetting who the other person is, and we have experiences that, kind of bombard us with all of these different illusions and fake beliefs and ideas about who we are. And so it doesn't take too much. You think it does, but it takes one person to be like,
Yeah.
hey, you're all going this way. Have you thought to try to go this way? It's a bit of a narrow path, but maybe you should
Mm-hmm.
question, why is everybody going this way and only one person's going this way? And so, yeah, I definitely
I
100%.
love hearing that.
I know that there is a
Yeah.
huge rising. It's time. Yeah,
Oh,
for
that
sure.
gives me goosebumps because
Yeah.
I just get really so excited to hear that. And I knew that
Mhm.
you would be one person that would actually really know,
Yes.
because you're out there
Yeah.
doing the work,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The
Kiana,
world is
your
about to
work,
change.
pardon?
Oh, I said, yeah, the world is changing. Yeah.
Actually, before I go on to my question, I actually wanted to talk to you about the new earth. We're moving into that new earth frequency, that 5D
Yeah.
frequency, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Now, I just want to stress this. I've done this with other guests too.
Mhm.
Can we talk about that for a moment, and that it doesn't mean packing your bags and moving to another earth? Okay.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely. Let's
can
please talk
we?
about that. Yes. Yes. Let's bring some illumination in
Yeah.
here. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Because people really do, well, some people,
Mhm.
not everybody. Just some people
Yeah.
think, okay, well, when are we going? Do I have to pay bills? Can I pack my stuff? Can I? No,
Mhm.
that's not what it is, though. So would you
No.
be able
Yeah.
to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Okay, let's see kind of where to begin with that. Well, I think when it comes to the new earth, honestly, I think it's already here. I don't think that it's something
Me
that's
too.
coming. I think we are living it.
Yeah.
I think that there are many people who are, and I think the way to do it is not by leaving earth or packing your bags to go somewhere else. It's by reconnecting with the divine within
Hmm.
you. The
That's right.
5D consciousness is a divine consciousness. It is an awakening of who you are. It's the shedding of everything that you're not. And when you let go of that, everything that you're not, that's the old earth. When you step into everything that you are, you automatically move into experiencing the 5D reality, which is Eden, heaven on Mother Earth, home.
Right.
This is heaven. This already is the 5D Earth. It's a frequency that you can tap into by loving yourself and healing and
Yeah.
recognizing that that old earth essentially is so many shivers. That old earth
Yeah.
is like
Me
the
too.
earth that was, the 3D density where it's darkness and lack and control and scarcity, and the stories that you're small and that you're this tiny human who, is sinful and bad and all of this kind of stuff, like all that negative vibration. That's what keeps you in that frequency. It's a frequency. It's not a physical place, but that's what
Hmm.
keeps you in that frequency of the lower density old earth. The new earth, the higher density, it's a shift in consciousness, a shift in awareness, and a shift in love towards yourself and towards humanity and everything on the planet. It's existing in a state of divine love of yourself and of everything, because you recognize that there is no separation, that we are all one. That is what makes it heaven. That is what makes it Eden. That is what makes it home. Yeah.
That is beautiful. Just
Yeah.
like so nicely put. Thank you so much for that. That is
Yes.
fantastic.
Hmm.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always actually thought that. I've
Hmm.
always thought that
Yeah.
there's so many things here in our human life on this earth that try to keep us down. I mean, every single thing, our
Hmm.
water, our food,
Yeah.
TV. I stopped watching, we stopped watching
Yeah.
television. I think it's 14 years this year.
Wow. Good for you
Yeah,
guys.
we just decided we were going to be in charge of what goes in
Hmm.
here,
Yeah,
right? We
it's
don't need
very
any more
important.
influence, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think that's something
Mhm.
that people don't think about. Like we know that we should be mindful of what we consume, but that's not only food. It's
That's right.
everything. It's what you're
Everything.
watching, what you're hearing, like because yeah, your brain is so powerful it will believe everything. It doesn't know what's true and what's a lie a lot of the time. So what are you programming yourself with? What are you telling yourself?
That
Like
see, programming, that is
yeah.
exactly the way that's the word because
Yeah.
that is exactly what I think they want, I don't know who they are really, but I
Yeah.
say they want us to be like that here for some
Yeah.
reason.
Mhm.
And
Well, I
now
know
that there are so
why.
many
I
yeah,
know the reason why. It's because it
because of
keeps us like, it keeps us small and it keeps us
yeah,
being controlled. If you
life
remember
should
who
never
you
have been like
are.
this, I don't think.
No, and it
Mm.
wasn't
Oh, I got
initially.
woo,
Yeah.
I got the
Yeah.
goosebumps bad when I said
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it should
Yeah.
never have been like this.
No.
And you know what's funny? Um, I never thought about this stuff before.
Mm.
Like even though I had spiritual experiences and all that jazz, like, but I
Mhm.
still went through life, like I had these rose-colored glasses on.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
ho hum. It
Yeah.
was and then
Totally.
when they came off,
Uh-huh.
it was like, "Oh my gosh." You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
what the
Yeah.
seriously,
Yeah.
what was I
Uh-huh.
thinking? What was I doing? What was I eating? What
Mhm.
was I it was so when
Yeah.
you go through that spiritual awakening, wow, it can play a real or have a
Oh,
real
yeah.
toll on yourself. It really can. So
100%.
you do have to be kind. But
Yes.
yeah, going down every rabbit hole you could
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
think of. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And I
Mhm.
remember there was times, Kiana,
Yeah.
that I was up all night long doing that and
Mhm.
just
Me too.
going, "Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, that's
Wow."
why it's
And it
so
was
bombarding. Yeah.
yeah, I just it's I understand when you say that.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So it's really good that there's people like you out there doing the work and helping others get there
Mhm.
because that's what we
Yeah.
need, right? And I
Yes.
want
Yeah.
to talk about your work. So I
Mhm.
know that your work is all about reclaiming your sacred self, correct?
Yeah. Mhm.
And returning back to yourself,
Yeah.
I believe, or
It's
returning back to your sacred self.
yeah.
So how do you do that with someone? How do you coach them or guide them to do that? Maybe you could tell
Well,
us what that is first.
yeah. So the way that I do it is I try to sit with somebody and I try to see like where are they disconnected? That's the first thing. What stories are they telling themselves? Trying to figure out where they're at on their journey and helping them see where those thoughts and stories came from. It's getting in the mud with them, sitting with them and processing and going through every little, thing that's telling them that they're broken or they're incomplete or they need something outside of them. It's looking at all of these belief systems and being able to show them what I've learned, turning them kind of around on their head a little bit, these belief systems, and saying, this isn't true. Like this is something that you've been programmed to believe. This is the truth that you are whole, that you are complete, and then taking them through the journey, which I talk about in my book. There's 21
Mhm.
different lessons that I specifically went through to rework like the subconscious and to be able to recognize like where or what happened in your life that made you believe these certain things about yourself? What age were you at? Like, because we can get stuck as well, like at a certain age in our body when something traumatic has happened to us. And then we are adults, but we're still like there's this part of us that just needs love and compassion, but until we are able to do that, we can be so judgmental of ourselves and create these whole identities that are so negative, and it can just be so consuming that it completely like as I was saying earlier, like my emotions, for example, so important. It's the very essence of who we are. Like it's what makes us feel alive. It's what makes the whole human experience important. And when you're disconnected from
Yeah.
that, like you've lost a huge part of
Yeah.
yourself, the
Yeah.
salt, the flavor of being here on earth, right? And so for me, like I try to go with them, um, speaking with them and looking at, okay, like where did this trauma come up or what is it that you're experiencing? Often somebody will come and they will tell me, a lot. And I'm just able to see, like, I think because I've been through things a lot myself, where things might have kind of not gone wrong per se, but where they might have adopted a belief, or where they might have, they might have been 7 or 8 or 13 years old and mom said something to them that wasn't even meaning to be like hurtful, but maybe they were, sensitive to it. And so they heard it through a different lens. And then suddenly they adopted that belief. And now their whole entire relationships as an adult is unhealthy or hurts or toxic or whatever. So then it's like really going back, layer after layer after layer after layer to the core. Where did this begin? And then giving that love, pouring so much love into it rather than
Mm-hmm.
judgment, and having curiosity rather than shame. And so that is how I do it. It's really teaching
That's
people how to
nice.
love themselves
Mm-hmm.
fully, like in all aspects, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And when you're able to do that and you recognize, hey, actually, no, I've always been whole, I've always been complete. Anything that has ever told me else, like otherwise, whether it's people, whether it's religion, whether it's, family, because even family, people that are hurt, they
Yep.
can bleed on other people without meaning to. Whoever it is, like that can be passed down. When you start to recognize that even those people were hurt, so they were telling you these things without meaning to necessarily, sometimes maybe there is intentional harm, but usually not intentional harm. Like you can then adopt that. So it's even giving compassion to those people, like love for all, when we can love everybody and understand everybody is just at a different part of their journey, including yourself, and you give yourself that love and compassion. You take that huge yarn ball and you start pulling the string until it becomes straight. So that's essentially what I do. I take somebody's big yarn ball and I start pulling the little string slowly, 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 and we work through each little layer with like love and patience and grace and dedication until we get to that last layer and we straighten it out and we recognize the whole time we were whole, we were loved, that anything again that says otherwise isn't true. I help them return back to the truth of who they are, the divine being that came into the world as
Mm.
this beautiful, perfect little soul. And, at some point, like this is another teaching too, you don't come into the world broken. You were never broken, you were whole. You came perfect, but something happened to you that made you believe that something was wrong, made you believe that you were broken. So, what I do is help you go back essentially in time and realize actually, no, you're perfect as you are, flaws and all. It makes you who you are. Like, and you are like the way that you are with the flaws and all the experiences you went through for a specific reason, often because when you get to the end of that journey, you're meant to, sorry, my phone just went off there.
No.
Yeah. You're meant to teach like what you learn. So even all of those things, having compassion and love so that you understand, hey, this isn't something shameful. This is my blueprint. This is my teaching. This is my medicine. So when you can shift all of these understandings and you start realizing that you are love at the core, it will change the way that you, like your whole outer reality will reflect the inner reality that you find. And then you will experience heaven on earth. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's like music to my ears listening to you speak like that. I'm not kidding.
Aw, thank you.
What spiritual practices or daily rituals keep you connected to your own inner light, especially on hard
Hmm,
days for
especially on
someone that
hard
is
days.
watching?
Mm, well, I like to walk a lot. I definitely go on walks. I like to listen to music, sometimes
Mhm.
music that doesn't have words, actually. I like to listen like to sometimes like instruments or piano and stuff. And I
Mm.
like to because I find it helps my vibration when I'm like really low and I'm feeling sad.
Yeah.
Sometimes that just and being outside, being in nature, it's a reflection of us. So when I'm outside, I'm reminded of my own beauty and my own grace and my own power. And I use that music to help me lift my vibration when I'm feeling
Mm.
sad. But also, sometimes I let myself feel sad because it's okay to feel the full spectrum of emotions. And in those cases, often this sounds funny, but like I'll sit with trees. When I'm like really sad and I feel like I need a motherly energy to hold me, I will go sit with
Mm.
a tree and I will let myself bawl and I will cry and I will release and I will share. Sometimes I will pray. I will, just be present with the feelings and not try to run away from them. Baths also are really good, like when I'm feeling a lot of like energy or I'm having a bad day, or even if I'm feeling energy from other people, like I will wash it off. I'll like speak even into my water sometimes and say what it is that I'm like releasing. Water is
Oh,
really cleansing. So baths, speaking to the water, like releasing what I want to let go of, or even asking for blessings, things like that too. Um, yeah, water is
Journaling,
really
is
important.
journaling a good one for people?
Yeah, for sure. Journaling. Yeah, journaling like what you're feeling or what you're going through. Another really good one I find is meditation. You can do guided meditations, but eventually, like for me, what I like to do, because I've been practicing it a lot, so for me it comes a little bit easier, but I still get those bombarding thoughts here and there. It's not to say that I'm perfect at all by any means when it comes to that. But after some time, sometimes if it's not, sometimes it's like still channeling and that can be annoying. But other times when I'm like boundaries and I set boundaries with them, I'm like, no, this is time for me to just go within, no talking at this point. Then I can kind of just quiet everything down and go like into my center, and I can feel my inner light, and that can remind me. And I think also the other thing too, this is a really important thing that I've learned. When you are somebody who carries a bright light, you want to be that light for other people all the time.
That's
But
right.
I think it's so important to know that even when you feel like you're a rain cloud, even when you feel like you can't be the light, you still are the light. It doesn't change of how you are feeling. You are still that light. So I think it's important to know that too, that like it's okay to feel. It's okay to not always be okay, but to just give yourself love and compassion. Like, again, at the end of the day, everything
Yeah.
is love and compassion. But yeah, journaling, baths, water, um, taking care of yourself, like feeding your body with good food, loving yourself, drinking coconut water, even just like different things, or whatever it is that makes you happy. Like hydration's really important. I think, even putting on some good tunes and dancing in your kitchen, like doing like if you're wanting to get out of that lower feeling, then one of the ways you can shift your vibration is through music or is through going outside and getting like sunlight, fresh air. I feel like
Yeah.
with your when you're too like stagnant and you don't do anything, and you're just sitting there, it's really easy to kind of like wallow in it. But if you write down like a list of what makes me happy, go back to like one thing on that list. Maybe it's even calling a friend or something and being
Mhm.
like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm having a crappy day. And just having somebody like there with you can really help. And just having somebody to listen, I think, is really helpful too. Yeah.
For those standing at the edge of change, afraid to step forward, what would you say to help them trust the path and walk it fully and boldly?
Hmm.
I love that
Um,
question.
that's a great question.
Mhm.
I think I would say know that the divine has already gone before you, has already seen the path, and know that if you're divinely guided to go somewhere, God, source, universe, whatever it is that you want to call it, will catch you. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's really beautiful.
yeah, and to just know that like you are always being guided, and if you're feeling fear, it's just because your soul knows that it's ready for growth. And fear is not always a bad
Mm,
thing. Yeah.
that's excellent. Kiana, can we talk a little bit about what you do, your books, and
Yeah.
everything that you do so we can get a
Yeah.
good idea of you?
Yeah, so I really try to make sure that I have a lot of different offerings that meet people where they're at, because as we know, this whole spiritual journey, it's a lifelong one and there are so many different phases, and I just really wanted to make sure that I can address everybody at all of the different phases as well as I can. I can't always do it for everybody, but to the best of my own capability, where they're at on their journey. So my book, I have it here. I'll just show you guys. Um, this is like a sample book, so don't mind that. But this is my book. I don't know if you can see it well on the camera. The missing
A
piece is
little bit,
you.
oh, if little bit foggy. There we go. Yeah, there you
There
go.
we go. So inside here is 21 lessons that I was guided through to journey back to my truth, the truth of who I am, and the truth that will set you free. Essentially, it's the truth of who you are. It's finding the light within you. This is my it's my seed planter, essentially. This is where the seed will be planted. You'll start, being able to like look through all of those questions and ask yourself things. There's journal prompts, there's exercises. It's not just a book, it's a very like active,
Interactive.
interactive
Mhm.
experience. Like there are meditations in this book, there are journal prompts, there are exercises that you can try, whether you're at home, whether you're out. I try to make it as accessible for everybody so that no matter where you are on your journey, you can go back to this book. I also love that it's very evergreen. So even if you're somebody who's very evolved and you've already like gotten, really far on your journey, I'm somebody who's very evolved and I can read my own book and be like, "Oh," and relearn something because the
Hmm.
lessons often repeat themselves in layers. Um, and so I love my book. I feel like, it was the path that I walked. I was guided by the divine to go down this path and to, go through all of these different cycles and questions, 21 different death and rebirths essentially that I went through. And I wrote it so that you don't have
Interesting.
to go through it all. It was, it was, yeah, crazy, crazy couple years of that. But that's the intro one. That's where you can start really opening up the onion or start pulling the string and start unraveling. And this is where you can start doing it yourself, like on your own
Hmm.
time at your own pace. And you can highlight it and you can doggy ear it and you can journal. And so it's nice because there's no rush. Like you can really, take it one day at a time. I have heard that this book is a very great read. Some people will read it very quickly and they digest it quickly and they're hungry to learn more. But also, almost every time that I've had people tell me that, they're also like, I have to read it again, and they want to highlight it because they're like, they want to learn as much as they can. But then there's so many exercises and journal prompts and like different things that they want to do that they often will go back so that they can really make it their experience. Like, yes, it's the guidance that I was walked through, but through the experience or the exercises, it makes it your experience. And it's
That's
almost
right.
like I'm holding your hand and I'm walking you along the path so that you're not walking through the cave in the dark. I walked through it in the dark. I came back with the light to so that you see where you're going essentially. So that's the first piece. The second piece is, I would say, like the collective messages that I do on TikTok as well as YouTube. You can find those at my handle name, which is just at Kiana G Gabriel. This is where I do a lot of like free collective messages. So again, I want to make sure that I'm addressing everybody, people who are not fully maybe ready to commit yet to a book or like some of the other offerings,
Mhm.
but this is like free information because I don't gatekeep. I want to give as much information as I
That's
can
right.
to you guys as I am learning it, as I am being guided, as I am sharing it so that you know that you're not alone, so that I'm also building a community so you can see like there are other people who are going through what you're going through. And so that's the other way. It's through, yeah, the TikTok and YouTube. It's just sharing a lot of the things that I'm learning or that I have learned, a lot of those teachings, as well as what's collectively going on in the world, and what a collective of people that are closely associated with where I'm at. Often I have multiple collectives. Usually it's like 1 to 3 different ones at different spaces on their journey, but it addresses everybody and it hits them exactly where they are, like with what they need to know in that moment. And then after the collective channelings in the book, it would be the one-on-one channelings. So if you do like the collective channelings or you enjoyed, all of the conversations here, I also have the ability to go one-on-one to connect with the divine, create a bridge between me and the other person and open up like communication between God source, between their guides, my guides, their ancestors, everybody that's essentially on their spirit team and on mine will come together in a strong ass group and we will be able to ask. I usually give like 3 to 4 questions that you guys can ask and I will pull down information directly for you to answer some of those questions where you're just really feeling like I need help, I need clarity. I
Hmm.
don't know if this is the right thing or whatever it is that you're needing assistance on. This is like direct access to the divine. If you're needing help, like we all have this ability. I want that to be really clear too. We all have this ability. It's like an umbilical cord. We all have the ability to hear and connect with the divine. But depending on how open you are and how much you've developed on this journey, sometimes it can be hard to hear. And sometimes people have these gifts in different ways. It's not always in the way that I hear it. You might feel it or see it or even smell it. Like there's so many different ways that these gifts come on. So sometimes if you're somebody who just needs a little bit more guidance, to get like clearer guidance for where you're going next, this is one of the best ways. This is like one of the most intimate ways that we can do that. This is my personal favorite way because we get to spend like an hour together where I just will really tap in and bring through a lot. Like usually it's very loud. There's a lot that wants to come through. Um, And it's cool because you get to see me like live in action doing my weird thing with with the channeling. So that's cool because people don't usually get to see that. Like they see after I've done the channeling and the
Mhm.
connections when I'm sharing. I still channel live as I'm recording it. Often that comes through, but when I'm doing this is the way that I channel for myself. So this is like intimate and I'm really tapping in for you, not just for like the collective, but for you
Yeah.
specifically. And it's really, really special. And it's yeah, it still
I
blows
like
my own mind that I have this
Mhm.
gift, and I feel incredibly honored to even be able to do that and to be trusted with that because it is a lot of trust for somebody to feel comfortable enough to open up and let me tap into their energy, and I can feel it very strongly. And so that's yeah, really interesting. And I love that. And then the last way, I'm doing a new thing now, which is a mentorship. So this is something I'm
Oh.
just opening up. I'm keeping it quite small for the first round, the first container. And this essentially is kind of like what we're doing in my book, but it's one-on-one, hands-on. It's a 3-month program where I will be
Mhm.
helping you creating like a whole blueprint. We'll be doing the live channeling, the tarot polls. You'll have access to talking to me, like on an app, so that we can continue, like you can share your breakthroughs and your questions and your struggles. And so it's like having a best friend in your pocket essentially. And I'm literally like this is what I do for my own friends. So it's essentially we're like best friends and I'm really helping you, like really getting in there and helping you. And this is for somebody who really is ready to grow and to transform and to like really
Mhm.
freaking remember who the hell they are. It's very, very like it's intense, but it will transform your life. And it's very exciting.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. It's very impactful. And the last little
Mhm.
thing, sorry, did you have something to say? Okay. And the last little thing that I like to add is I also have a free community. It's very new. I'm still building it up. It is free. It will always be free. The reason I created this, as we were saying earlier on, is because I know what it feels like to be alone, especially in this whole process. I went through this alone for the majority of my life. Not majority of my life, but my adult life. And so I know what it's like to just really struggle with finding people who are like-minded and people who are different, but people who are on this journey. And so I created it so that you have a village because I know what it's like to not have one and I want to make sure you do. So that's why I created that. So you're just supported in every way. Like got your family, you got your help with like the one-on-one, you've got your channeling, you've got your book, you've got like the free community where you can be a part of and you can also hear all the channeled messages. So I really do genuinely try to meet everybody where they're at, wherever they're at, wherever they're ready in their journey, and just send you guys like buckets of love in all of the ways that I can. Yeah.
That is so awesome. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. And we're going to have all that information down in the
Amazing.
description box below.
Hmm.
Kiana, I just want to thank you so, so much for sharing your heart and your story with us today. You are absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You really are.
I
Mhm.
appreciate
Your
that.
courage to walk through the fire, reclaim your own light, and guide others home to themselves is actually the most inspiring thing about you.
Mm,
That is
thank
really
you.
cool.
You're making me emotional.
You, oh,
Thank you.
you're welcome. You remind us that no matter how lost and broken we feel, our power and our wholeness are always waiting to be reclaimed.
Yes. Oh.
It's been an honor to sit with you and
Oh.
witness your wisdom. I'm really, really impressed with you.
No, thank you so much.
You're
Thank you. I
welcome.
really loved being here. It's
Oh,
such an honor to be able to speak, and I'm so grateful that like I get to speak to your audience and to help
I
them in
think
this
you're going to
way.
have to come back.
I would love to come back for
Yeah, I think
sure.
so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I really like
absolutely.
your vibe, and
Thank you.
I'm sure others are going to really like it as well.
This is so fun. Thank you so
Right?
much. Yes.
And to all watching or listening today, thank you for being here for this episode. And remember, you are never too far from your own light. The path home is always there, waiting for you to trust it. If you
Mhm.
enjoyed this conversation today, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who may need it. And until next time, stay open, stay curious, and keep returning to the truth within you.